Good morning. Welcome to Northwest Unitarian Universalist. I am Vanessa Washington, and I will be your worship associate this morning. According to the COVID Act Now website, I just got the late breaking news that we're now at the low community risk level. Therefore, there'll be communal singing this morning, and masks are optional. Today's service is brought to you by the 8th Principle Implementation Team. And the sermon today will be delivered by Reverend Dr. Patricia Coleman-Burns. She is in the Zoom room, I have heard this morning. So if you want to say hello to us now, you can do that, Dr. Burns.
Good morning. It is such a blessing and a pleasure to be here with you and to see so many of my friends. I had forgotten all of the amazing friends, Bruce and Haya and Dr. Sharia Lane Robinson. So good morning, and we are so happy to join you this morning. God bless.
Welcome. Pastor Pat is a longtime advocate for the right of all persons to be free from gender oppression, sexism, racism, and violence. She was married to the late Reverend John H. Burns II, who's the founding pastor of First African Methodist Church in Farmington Hills. He was the pastor there for 41 years until his death in May of 2019. If you're a visitor online with us today and you'd like Northwest to stay in touch with you, please fill out the visitor form you will see in the chat box. And if you are here with us in person for the first time, you can complete a form in the atrium or talk to anyone you see. So please greet your neighbors from wherever you are. You can wave at that camera there if you want the people online to see you. Then before the Prelude video is shown, let's all take a deep breath and settle into a time of worship.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
We begin our service today with a land acknowledgement. This land, the hills, woods, and rivers, is the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands of the Anishinaabe Three Fires Confederacy, the Odawa, the Ojibwe, and Potawatomi. The Northwest UU congregation acknowledges the injustice of the theft of this land and the continuing presence, despite attempts at annihilation, of the indigenous people of this place. And we pledge ourselves to justice and repair, both with the land and its people. We light our chalice, the symbol of our faith, knowing this morning that many other Unitarian Universalist congregations across the land and across the world are doing the same. We light our chalice with words by Francis Cozier, bringing us home to love. We light this chalice today as a people dedicated to personal growth. May it burn away the oppressions we have been taught and glow instead with the humility of learning. May it reignite our dreams for a better world and kindle our joy for simple living. May its warmth extend out into the forgotten alleyways of exclusion and bring us home to love, to welcoming, and to all the challenges, the questions, and the blessings of this beautiful path to becoming a beloved community.
Now we will have Carry the Flame. I was wondering if Colin would like to carry the flame today. We are going to be going to room B for the older kids and the nursery for the younger kids. We're going to be doing a project of making bags for the houseless and doing a little play.
One purpose of our religious community is to encourage all who gather to grow more generous in spirit and in action. This is the great end of all the world's faith traditions, to bring the human being closer to divine acts of creation and compassion. So we now take an offering that allows us to exercise our generosity of spirit. That offering will support our congregation as well as the shared plate recipient. So every other month throughout the year, we shared the collections with the Southfield Emergency Needs Fund. Their goal is to help residents overcome personal hurdles to achieve a satisfying and productive quality of life. And Human Services is a division of the Southfield Community Relations. If you would like to donate, you can do so in a variety of ways. That should now be visible on your screen. And we're passing a basket for those in person.
Good morning. Today's reading is Blessed Are We by Andrea Hawkins Camper. Blessed are we who gather with open hearts together in this space today. Blessed are we, the chalice lighters of resistance, justice, love, and faith. Blessed are we, the heretics, the outcasts, the walkers of our own way. Blessed are we, the border crossers, the refugees, the immigrants, the poor, the wanderers who are not lost. Blessed are we, the transgressors, the trespassers, the passers-by, the cause takers, the defiant, and the compliant. Blessed are we, the hand extenders, the sign makers, the protesters, and the protectors. Blessed are we, the trans women, the trans men, the non-binary, the cisgender, the multigender, the no gender. Blessed are we, the friend, the stranger, the lonely, the hidden, the visible, the authentic. Blessed are we who rise in solidarity. Blessed are we who cannot. Blessed are we who do not. Blessed are we, for this is our beloved community, and this is who we are.
How do we follow principle 8 of building the beloved community as we commit ourselves to dismantling white supremacy within the principles of your faith, and also can share within the tradition of the 200-year-old AME Church founded in 1816. Now, I want to acknowledge the Alex Myers, who offered the first invitation to me, to Kaya Davidson, who invited and had my husband speak at the memorial of her late husband, and to Dr. Sharia Lane Robinson, one of my colleagues at the University of Michigan, as well as all the FAME members. Thank you and welcome. So let me pray. I pray to Jesus Christ, and I have to remind folk that to be all-inclusive also needs to be careful that we don't exclude people like me and my culture and my beliefs, my faith. So you please feel free to go to the space where you can open your hearts and embrace the challenges of building the beloved community while dancing backwards and in high heels. And while understanding the lack of options that I have to say to my children and my grandchildren, don't tell them you're Black. So the title of this sermon is Building the Beloved Community, Dancing Backwards and in High Heels. Don't tell them you're Black. So let's explore what it means to build the beloved community. You know, when my late husband, John, founded FAME in September of 2015, it was our purpose that in spite of all that we had endured, that we'd be able to dance backwards and in high heels, being no ways tired. And John founded First African Methodist Episcopal Church because of the rich history of struggle that we come out of. You might know the history of the AME Church, or who the AME Church is, by Rosa Parks, who was a mother in our church. Or that on June 17, 2015, the year in which we founded our church, that following September, that 5 clergy and 4 church members were mercilessly gunned down during Bible study by a 21-year-old white supremacist at Mother Emanuel African Methodist Church in Charleston, South Carolina. Now, Mother Emanuel had been founded in 1816, the year in which the AME Church was established. It was founded by a Black pastor and is the oldest Black church still standing south of Baltimore. Now, you think you hear folk today being upset and concerned about Black Lives Matter. Well, Mother Emanuel was a spiritual refuge for Denmark Vesey, former slave, and it was his intent to wage a slave rebellion in 1822. But because of his uprising, that church had been burned to the ground because of his association with Vesey. And, his plan was to kill all the white inhabitants of Charleston, South Carolina, to light all of its buildings on fire and escape to Haiti by boat. But needless to say, the plan ultimately fell apart when an enslaved African revealed Vesey's plans to his master. We know that story. And we also know that the murderer knew that history of Mother Emanuel Church in South Carolina. So when John established fame, the mission of the church was to minister to the development of all people. He called for the planning of First African Methodist Episcopal Church to provide leadership to the new millennial church. And he wanted to expose Farmington Hills and the surrounding communities to the rich history and dynamic move of God through the African Methodist Episcopal Church. Now, we founded the Beloved Community Initiative out of this drive. And on April in 2019, a group of us began our journey to building the Beloved Community.
We are residents, members of local churches and community groups who came together a year ago in common cause to, 1, learn about the enslavement of African peoples and its impact on our society. 2, for some to raise awareness of racial and social justice, and for others to find ways and allies to seek racial and social justice reconciliation. 3, we wanted to share what we learned. And 4, we wanted to do that through dialogue and inclusion, working toward building a beloved community. We believe talking, listening, and truly knowing each other can begin to dispel the distrust, hate, fear, racism, and despair felt by so many Americans. In April 2019, we visited the National Memorial for Peace and Justice and the Legacy Museum in Montgomery, Alabama, which document the terrorism and lynching of thousands of Black people in the United States over 80 years. The 14 of us were from different spaces, genders, races and ethnicities, and faiths and beliefs. We were all moved by the hundreds of weathered steel columns, physical reminders, each bearing the name of a county and the people who were lynched there, many whose names are still unknown. Lynched for reasons like walking past a window where a white woman was taking a bath, or like Laura Nelson and her teenage son, who were lynched without trial in Oklahoma in 1911 after a white man was found dead. The 3 African Americans, descendants of enslaved Africans, pointed to their own stories of terrorism passed down over several generations, locating their own counties of origins on the hanging columns. Internal refugees, a term that resonated with many of us. Internal refugees from the South to the North. We shared our stories of escape from terrorism and Jim Crow injustices. Most importantly, we walked away with a collective and shared history that has been understood and lived by Blacks for years and often obscured from the awareness of descendants of European immigrants. For examples, we gained a mutual realization of how the system of enslavement of Africans never really ended. But as a New York Times article noted, it evolved from the family-shattering domestic slave trade to the decades of lynching terror, to the suffocating segregation of Jim Crow,
to the age of mass incarceration in which we now live. And so we committed to continue learning, to engaging in honest and sometimes painful conversation, to hearing and recognizing the different experiences of diverse Americans, whether we are descendants of terror who continue to experience injustices, or whether these realities have negatively, spiritually, and emotionally affected all of us. Our ask is to invite others to join with us to make a difference by building a beloved community dedicated to hearing all voices. We know, as Maya Angelou said, history, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Only in my heart I do believe we shall.
That was April of 2019. And so we began our journey of dancing backward and in high heels and focusing on the agility of building the beloved community while dismantling a community of the good old days that weren't beloved to everyone, therefore needing to dismantle white supremacy. You know, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. agonized in 1967 that in all the work that he was doing, he was encouraging the Negro community, he said, to integrate into a burning house. Harry Belafonte said, King said, you know, I've come upon something that disturbs me. It disturbs me deeply. We have fought long and hard for integration, but I've come to believe that we are integrating into a burning house. And therefore, end quote, and therefore knowing that building the beloved community means rectifying the mistakes of the past and including those that we have historically left out. Remember, we were all foreigners once. You know, our son, who is now 44, when he was 10 years old, his gymnastics team was going to Russia. And as the families came together to prepare for this international travel, one of the parents looked at their son and they said, "Don't tell them that you're Jewish." And John and I leaned into each other and leaned into Bobby, and we said, "Bobby, don't tell them that you're Black." See, the beloved community, as we re-evolve into the kind of community that we must be, must include the darker skinned brothers and sisters, as well as all genders. We can't ask people to stop being who they are. Don't tell them you're Black. Because see, race is a social construct and it's used to group people in a hierarchical human grouping system. It's generating racial classifications to identify, to distinguish, and marginalize some groups across nations, regions, and even the world, often based on physical appearance, social factors, and cultural backgrounds. And what we have seen over time is the successful integration of persecuted minorities into American society, and in some accounts, becoming part of the establishment, all on the backs of Blacks, the darker brother and sister. Identity in America is inherently paradoxical and contradictory, a process that scholars often refer to as becoming white. Becoming white as an option that I can't achieve. It wasn't the skin color of European descendants that changed as more and more who had been historically excluded were allowed in. It was their status on the backs of Native Americans and former descendants of enslaved Africans. See, the problem to building the beloved community is we must reject and dismantle principles that deny the inherent worth and dignity of every person. That we have to, as you say, accept everyone, one another, which means rejecting the tenets of a dominant culture and specifically ideations of white supremacy, white Christian nationalism, and a pervasive culture of injustice and equity, and a sort of standoffishness rather than a sense of compassion for everybody. And more, I'm hearing the willingness of people to embrace these new values to create the new future, the new beloved community. Oh, but it takes dancing in high heels and walking and dancing backwards. It means challenging these ideas. It means truth-telling. It means rejecting these hierarchies of privilege based on proximity to whiteness. It means embracing an opposition to ideas of materialism, it's avarice and greed, and isms and domination. It means that, as Martin indicated, being careful about integrating into a burning house. So what do? Since we're all foreigners in this land, except for the First Nations of people who have been here for thousands of years, whether we've come to America fleeing oppression and persecution and seeking religious freedom over generations and generations of our people, whether we were peasants or commoners in hierarchies and monarchies and countries where we've come from to find a better life, whatever was the reason of coming to this country. And whether you came in chains ripped from the motherland, we were all once foreigners because the world and everything in it was created beyond us. So we have to treat people with respect and with dignity. So your eighth principle was amazing to me. A commitment to dismantling white supremacy. And the truth, as Maya Angelou said in the video and in the quote, that history, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again. I know it's exhausting and exhaustive, but when your back is up against the wall, and when you are dancing backwards and in high heels, and you don't know what you're going to do, remember and be understanding and committed to the idea of understanding how to dismantle this monster. William Augustus Jones, in his book called God in the Ghetto, a prophetic word revisited, he said it's important to say no to a lie, to veto an untruth. Well, as you say, it's a commitment to the dismantling of white supremacy within your faith principles. And this is the invitation, Jones goes on to say, to the general church and the general faith community, and the Black church specifically, to speak truthfully about white supremacy and white nationalist, religious, insidious natures. You know, speak the truth. Freedom is the ability to say no to these lies and to these untruths. Let's not let the mistakes of the past come into this future. It's no time to be tired now, because as in Jeremiah 12:5 says, if you're tired running now, if you're tired just dancing in this time, how can you compete when it comes to running with horses? It means that things are going to be even more challenging as we see unfolding every day. What's ahead of us, we can't imagine, but we know the future that we hope for has no comparison to the hard times that we are now experiencing. We are just waiting to achieve a beloved community, to be the community that we can be. The community not only being birthed around us, but a community, a spirit of the fullness of who we can be that is within us, that is also able to burst forth, enlarge us as we are waiting to become everything that we can become. In closing, pray for the world that we live in. That's what Jeremiah 29:7 says. Because if we pray for this world and we pray that things go well for Babylon, for this world, then things will go well for you and me as we build the beloved community, dancing backwards and in high heels, unafraid to tell them that we embrace all of us, including the Blackness. Thank you.
Amen to that. We will now sing hymn 300 with heart and mind. Invite you to rise in body or spirit.
By extinguishing this flame, we pause as individuals and as a collective community to remember to regularly return to gratitude and joy, reminded that the work we do should be spiritually fulfilling. Our closing words are "Be About the Work" by Andrea Hawkins Camper. May we see all as it is, and may it all be as we see it. May we be the ones to make it as it should be. For if not us, who? If not now, When? This is answering the cry of justice with the work of peace. This is redeeming the pain of history with the grace of wisdom. This is the work we are called to do, and this is the call we answer now, to be the barrier and the bridge, to be the living embodiment of our principles, to be about the work of building the beloved community, to be a people of intention and a people of conscience. May it be so.
So we have a few announcements. Remember that in the weekly newsletter and on the website, you can find out more information about events happening at Northwest, but we're highlighting a couple today. The first is coffee hour. We will have a light lunch provided by the Board of Governors after the service in the multipurpose room. The congregational meeting, we'll start our meeting after lunch at 12:30 here in the sanctuary. We'll be providing updates, including from the Ministers' Search Committee, adopting the Aspirational Covenant, electing positions for our Board of Governors, and affirming some other leadership positions. A separate Zoom link for the congregational meeting was sent out in your Sunday morning email if you're online today. And 3, the 2023 Canvas. In addition, you have a chance to say nice things about Northwest on camera after the service. We did this last week too, I believe. The Canvas team will ask folks to give brief, informal answers to one of these questions. What do you love about Northwest? What keeps you coming back? What is your favorite thing at Northwest? And what makes you happy about Northwest? So you can go in room C with Beata, who'll be doing that in person, or you can stay in the main session room and Martha will record your answers.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Like the river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. 'Cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it is. Then I go to my brother. And I say, brother, help me please. But he wind up knocking me back down on the knee. Oh, there been times
change.